Hey everyone, I saw The Wheel of Time Season 2, Episode 4, Daughter of the Night, and I have some thoughts. This is Unraveling the Pattern. I'm Lauren. To be clear, this is a spoiler-filled reaction / kind of review video for Episode 4 of Season 2 of The Wheel of Time. So if you haven't watched the episode, and if you haven't read all the books, you might not want to watch this video. At the end of the video, I'll be discussing my schedule release for upcoming videos on my channel, so stick around for that. Remember to like the video, subscribe, and let's get into it. If you follow my channel or know me at all, you know that I tend to lean very positive, and that I like the Wheel of Time adaptation so far. I have my gripes, like other fans. I certainly wish it was more book accurate, but for the most part, I do like it. I've said before that I like the show, and I do, but I want to love the show. And the first 3 episodes made me love the show so far. I really do believe that the writing, the production quality, everything really is a step up from season 1. It's funny, when I'm positive about the show, people accuse me of like being in Amazon's pocket or only saying things that Amazon allows me to say, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. I always have said what I want to say. I'm not under contract. I've never been paid to give reviews. I don't say anything that other people tell me to say. This all comes from me. I just tend to lean more positive. Now, that being said, Amazon has been very kind to me. They've given me some really incredible inside access. They've given me screeners to some of the episodes, and I'm very thankful for that. But I don't owe Amazon anything, and they don't owe me anything, so everything I say comes from me, I promise. Now, while this episode did have a lot of good in it, there were some things that concerned me that I want to get into, but I'll get into it. First, let's talk about the good. As I said, this episode does have a lot of good in it. The whole blood calls blood prophecy stuff was really cool, and I really liked how it paid off. And while I wish we had gotten a little bit more of the Lanfear stuff, I did like the big reveal at the end. I'm scratching my head a little bit as a book reader, like how did she survive, but I'm intrigued to know more and what they're going to do with it. I think they're going to show that the Forsaken can't die by conventional methods, that maybe only balefire can kill a Forsaken, so I'm actually really intrigued to see where this goes. And I do like this concept of the Forsaken not being able to die, unless maybe by balefire, because that kind of changes the transmigration of souls thing that happens in the books, where the Dark One puts the souls of dead Forsaken into new bodies, and instead they can just have their bodies kind of resuscitate so we can keep the same actors, which I actually think is a good idea. Another thing that I really liked is how they're pushing this idea that Aes Sedai outgrow the people that they love, that they get older, that they age beyond the people that they know and love. That's a really cool concept, and I wish they had explored this more in the book, so it's kind of exciting to see that dynamic. I'm very intrigued by Moiraine's sister and how all of that happened. It does feel like they really aged up Moiraine because her sister is so much older, and I thought Moiraine was only about 40 years old in the books, but I'm okay with that. That stuff is very intriguing to me, and I like how they've handled it so far. The stuff with Liandrin and Nynaeve, and the way that they're talking about how Liandrin says, you know, you really have to find things that you can hang on to in this world, and then find something new to hang on to. I really like that stuff. I think that's really well written. I think it's really interesting and intriguing. It's new things that I think bring a lot of interesting details to the show. Another thing that I liked was that Moiraine's sister has eyes and ears of her own. That she, along with Moiraine, is kind of really good with the game of houses, and she's really good with having spies, and that she's even kind of overtaken Moiraine's network of eyes and ears in Cairhien. I think that's a really cool detail, and it helps explain how House Demodred has managed to kind of stay afloat after all the events with King Laman and the Aiel War and all of that. So I think that's really cool. Did you notice, by the way, that there was a Tree of Life image in the background in one of those scenes in Moiraine's sister's house? I thought that was a really cool detail that I'll talk more about in my Unraveling video. I really enjoyed Moiraine's moments with Loghain. Alvaro Morte, who plays Loghain, is just such a wonderful actor. He brings so much to that character. And even though the character is quite different from the book version of Loghain, that stuff all really intrigues me. It was fun seeing Moiraine sort of play detective and trying to track down Rand. One of the things that I would have liked to see was more Ta'Veren stuff, like influences of Rand as a Ta'Veren and her sort of tracking him in that way. Maybe we'll get more of that another time, but that was kind of a missed opportunity for me. But overall, I liked the way that that was all done. The thing that I liked most in this episode was the Perrin and Elias stuff, and I'll get to that more later in the video. I also like that they gave Nynaeve some time to breathe and to cope with her accepted test. Like, the stuff she went through was traumatic, and I like that they sort of described that this is hard for her. Another little detail that I really liked is how Nynaeve remembered to put on her Great Serpent ring before she answered the door. Like, she is committing to being in the tower, but she's still kind of trying to learn how to manage all of that, and I think that's really interesting. Another scene that I really liked was that little scene between Liandrin and Lyanna, and how there was that sort of tower politics stuff going on. I really am intrigued to see where Swan is. I don't know where she's gone. My guess is Cairhien, based on some of the teasers and things we've seen, but I'm really intrigued to see where that's going. And I also really enjoyed how Liandrin was able to convince Nynaeve to go to Falme with her. Like, that's very intriguing to me, the way that they brought Egwene and even Elaine into it. That worked for me. Yes, it was slightly different from the book, but I liked it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. The more book accurate stuff was, like Perrin with the Wolves or Matt gambling or the girls going with Leandrin, the more happy I was. The more it veered from that, the more I kind of got worried or concerned that we're running out of time. I got this sort of anxious feeling that I think I got with season 1 too, especially like episode 8 of season 1, where I was just like, oh, come on, we don't have enough time to spend on this stuff. We need to get to the important stuff. So I'll talk about the bad and the ugly in a minute. But really quick, as you know, I don't have sponsors on my channel currently. Maybe I will someday. But I like to bring attention to things that I think are important. For example, right now, the WGA and SAG-AFTRA unions are on strike because they're not being fairly compensated in Hollywood for TV shows and movies that they're working on. I personally believe strongly in this and that we should support them. There are links in the description. Please consider donating to these good causes. If you normally like to donate to me or consider supporting me through Patreon or YouTube as a member, maybe consider donating to these good causes in the link in the description instead. All right, back to the video. Again, I liked a lot of the concepts that they introduced in the episode. My concern is just that they're spending too much time on minor characters and new characters, which is a little odd to me, considering Robert Jordan's books have like 2,780 named characters or something like that. Like, it's okay to just use characters from the books. But anyway, it's a little concerning to me that they're spending a little too much time on minor characters and minor storylines that, in my opinion, don't really matter in the grand scheme. Rand, Matt, Perrin, they just need more attention, and that's the bottom line. So I get a little anxious as I watch these episodes, and I go, when are we going to get more Rand? When are we going to get more Perrin? Especially Matt. Like, Matt really feels like he's been put on the back burner all season. And while I was okay with it at the beginning of the season, because I really thought the focus on Nynaeve and her accepted test and the girls in the White Tower and even Rand and Kyrie, and I thought that stuff was good and important. But now I'm starting to get worried, like, okay, we're halfway through the season. When are we going to progress? I did not expect Rand to be in Kyrian for so long in the show. I mean, he's been just stuck in Kyrian for the entirety of season 2 so far. That concerns me. I mean, in books 1, 2, and 3, Rand is all over the map, and we're just not getting that. Now, I understand they're trying to slow things down. I understand they're limited by budgets. I understand they're limited by things like who should be on screen based on contracts. There's so many things that go into making a show. But I worry a little bit that the main characters are not getting the focus that they need. Now, this may get resolved by the time the season ends, but these are my major concerns. I don't dislike that they're putting more time into the girls. I just dislike that they're putting less time into the boys. Even Leandrin, I like the amount of time that's going into her character. I think she's a phenomenal character and a great actress, and I want to see more of her on screen, but not at the expense of the main characters. That's my concern. Another thing that disappoints me a little bit is we've been getting fades, but what about like Dragcar? More Trollocs, Grey Men, all these Darkhounds. I mean, I want to see other Shadow Spawn. And again, this feels a little bit like a budget limitation, or to be honest, it feels a little bit like maybe they don't trust their audience to give us more than just a few bad guys that they've established early on. Like, it feels like they're focusing on the Forsaken in this season, and that makes sense to me, especially Lanfear and Ishamael. But why not give us more scary bad guys too? Like, I want to see a Dragcar. I want to see a Grey Man. I want to see some of those different things. So I'm just a little concerned that they don't trust the audience enough, and I want them to trust us a little bit more. As far as the Rand and Selene stuff goes, like, I'm kind of on the fence about it. I'm a little neutral. I am curious to see how non-book readers will react to all this. I'm guessing the reveal at the end of the episode is going to be a big deal to non-book readers. Like, I kept waiting for it to come. I was really curious about that moment when Lanfear was sort of channeling. It was almost as if she was about to reveal a new face or something. And then we had that fake out death. And look, I'm going to be honest. I have mixed feelings about the fake out deaths. There's a lot of fake out deaths in the show. I know it creates drama. I know it's interesting. It was really cool to see Selene kind of like blink, like she wasn't dead. That was cool. And I don't know if you noticed the little black flecks of what looked like dark corruption or power in her eyes. Could that be the saw off from the true power? Very cool stuff. Like, that stuff was really interesting to me, and I'm intrigued by it. It's just how they got there felt a little clunky to me and a little bit slow. By far, my least favorite part of the episode was the land stuff. I think Daniel Henney is a great actor. I love Priyanka Bose and her warders. I think they do such a good job. And those scenes are really good when they talk to each other and they have these little sort of intimate moments. I like that stuff. But again, it just feels like it's taking away from more important storylines and characters, and it worries me. So by far, that was probably my least favorite part of the episode, was just some of the slower land scenes. Even though they were good scenes, they just didn't work for me in the grand scheme. Okay, enough complaining. I don't like to be a downer. You know that I don't usually like to be negative. These are just my initial thoughts and reactions. I felt like I needed to be honest and get some of this stuff out. But let's get on to the things I really liked, the great and the surprising. Everything about Perrin and Elias and the wolves was just so wonderful. It was just how I imagined it. I know it wasn't exactly word for word from the books, but to me, this is how an adaptation should be. They take all the really important things and they show it in a really cool way. Seeing Hopper share his name, hopping and trying to fly, was just the best thing ever. It made me feel so much joy. That's the kind of stuff I live for in The Wheel of Time. And when it's accurate to the books, I get very excited. By far, the Perrin stuff, the best part of the episode for me. I just absolutely loved it. And knowing what's coming for poor little Hopper, I'm already devastated. Like, he's just the best. Another pleasant surprise for me was seeing Matt gambling. Now, I had assumed that Matt would go out with men on the town and that he would start to see his luck kicking in. And that hasn't happened yet. And so now I'm starting to think maybe there's still a connection with Matt and the dagger that needs to be resolved. So it'll be interesting to see where they take that. I do think that Matt might get the dagger back. Now, we have seen that vision where Min saw Matt stabbing Rand with the Shatter Logoth dagger. So I'm kind of glad that that's not resolved quite yet because it felt a little clunky in season 1. I'm interested to see where that goes, but I'm also so excited to see Matt's luck really kick into high gear. I'm curious if we're going to see that this season or if that's going to come later. I know we still have half a season left. There's still a lot to be done before we get to Foam. I just wonder if we're going to see Matt getting his luck in this season or not. Another thing, I was surprised that Matt and Min are going to be going to Kyrian. I assumed for sure that they'd be going to Foam. So the fact that they're going to Kyrian actually excites me a lot because basically this means we might still get to see Rand and Matt talking. We might get to see some really interesting things with portal stones. I know probably not going to happen, but I really want to see some sort of flicker moment. Even if it isn't portal stones, maybe it's a waygate or something else. I would really love to see that. And it would be really great to see Matt influenced by that. That may also explain Min's vision when she sees Matt killing Rand. This might be like an alternate flicker reality, which is when Matt will realize he cannot betray his friends. And I think that could be really strong if done right. So, fingers crossed. I'm very hopeful that they'll be more accurate to the books, as is obvious. I really hope that that happens. Another thing that really shocked me was the Min Ishamael stuff. That really surprised me, but I liked it quite a bit. The idea that Ishamael is sort of influencing Min behind the scenes, that he's promising her that he can get rid of her visions or her ability to see things, that's really intriguing, and I'm really interested to see where that goes. But I also like that she was like, no, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to hurt Matt. I'm not going to hurt my friends. And Ishamael was like, you might. And I thought that was really cool. It was also really creepy seeing Ishamael in the dream and sort of like almost like cutting in and out. That was just really fun. And I want to see more of that kind of Ishamael. I was looking closely at his eyes and I couldn't quite see. I'm going to have to zoom in later when I have higher quality video, but I was looking at his eyes to see if we could see some of the Saw or the black corruption in his eyes. I couldn't see it. But anyway, that stuff, really great. Surprising, good stuff. I loved it so much. And another surprising thing, which I already kind of talked about, was when Moiraine stabbed Lanfear. Like, that shocked me. I thought it was really cool, and it sets up some really interesting things between Moiraine and Lanfear, which I'm very excited about. Now, my final thoughts. I've said this before, I'm not going to rate the episodes until the season is over. This episode, yes, I reacted a little bit negatively at first, but I will say, after I went back and watched it a second time, much better. And this is how it was for me with season 1. Season 1, there was sort of like this initial shock, like jumping into cold water. And once that shock wore off and I was able to kind of enjoy my surroundings and rewatch the episodes, I enjoyed it a lot more. And I found some really interesting things, some really great book accurate things. I'll continue to do that with the show. I'll continue to do that with episode 4. But I did have that sort of shock with this episode. The first 3 episodes, I don't know, maybe it was just the timing was right or something, but when I watched them, it was like returning home. It felt good. I really loved everything they did in the first 3 episodes. I was a little more disappointed with this one, but I'm maybe overselling it. I'm not that negative. I never have been. I tend to like things, and I did like it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. But I will just say, let's get more time with our main characters. Minor characters are interesting, they're important, but if we can get 10 to 12 episodes per season, then you can spend a little bit more time doing that. Since we can't do that, maybe tighten it up a little bit. Let's talk about Matt. Let's get Rand using the sword. Let's get Perrin talking to wolves and figuring all that stuff out. And I think a lot of that's still to come, so I'm very hopeful. But, let's tighten it up a little bit. As I've already kind of said, I'm sure I'll be happier with this episode overall once I see that all this stuff they're setting up does have a payoff. My hope is that it will have a payoff sooner than later. I hope that this was okay. I know that I'm going to have people on both sides, people who think I'm too critical or people who think I'm not critical enough. That's just the nature of this. Please remember to be respectful in the comments. Okay, quick channel update. I'm working on my Unraveled videos. I got Unraveling episode 1 out. I'm nearly finished with Unraveling episode 2, but things have been getting a lot busier for me at work and with my life. I'm starting my university course that I teach back up this fall, actually tonight. So, there's just a lot of things in my actual life that get in the way. I wish I could YouTube full time, but I can't. So thank you for being patient with me. My goal is to have the episode 2 and hopefully episode 3 Unraveled videos done before next week, before episode 5, but I can't promise that. But I really hope to have episodes 1 through 5 all unraveled before episode 6. That's my main goal. We'll see if I can do it. Again, that all depends on my work schedule and other things and how busy I get, but thank you for watching. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for subscribing to Unraveling the Pattern. Until next time, let the dragon ride again on the winds of Prime.